is heavy with mist, and the waters run dark and still, you might hear it, a sorrowful, haunting wail that chills the blood. It is the cry of La Llorona, the weeping woman, a ghost cursed to wander the earth for eternity, mourning the children she lost to her own tragic act. The legend begins with a woman, once beautiful and beloved, who fell deeply in love with a man who eventually betrayed her. Consumed by grief and rage, she turned her pain into a terrible act of vengeance. In a moment of madness, she drowned her children in the river, their cries for mercy lost beneath the rushing waters. But the instant they were gone, regret consumed her. Overcome by her monstrous deed, she threw herself into the water, hoping to join them in death. Yet death did not bring peace. Instead, she was cursed to roam the waterfronts, rivers, lakes and canals, searching for her lost children. Her spirit, trapped between worlds, is said to wail endlessly, her mournful cry, "Ay, mis hijos, oh my children," echoing across the water. But beware, for La Llorona is not just a ghost of sorrow, she is a ghost of vengeance. It is said she lures the unwary to the water's edge, mistaking them for her children, only to drag them to a watery grave. Her pale, veiled figure is said to appear near rivers, her eyes hollow, and her face contorted with eternal anguish. To this day, the legend of La Llorona lingers, a warning to stay away from dark waters at night. For if you hear her cries, you might just see her figure in the mist and feel her icy hands pulling you under. In the dark, misty roads of Japan, there's a terrifying tale that haunts the streets, one that sends a shiver down the spine of anyone who dares drive at night. It is the legend of the headless rider, a ghostly figure of a motorcyclist, forever cursed to ride the roads without a head. The story begins with a tragic accident that occurred years ago. A young man speeding down a desolate road on his motorcycle was unaware of the danger ahead. In the dead of night, someone, no one knows who, had stretched piano wire across the road, the thin, almost invisible strands ready to catch the unsuspecting. The rider, unable to see the wire in time, crashed into it at full speed. The wire snapped tight, decapitating him instantly, his head flying off as his body crumpled to the ground. His motorcycle slid to a stop, the engine sputtering its final breath in the silence of the night. But death was not the end for this rider. As the legend goes, the rider's ghost now haunts the road where he perished, a headless figure speeding through the night on his motorcycle. The faint sound of revving engines fills the air as he approaches, and those who have encountered him report seeing a rider in a dark helmet and leather jacket, his hands gripping the handlebars with unnatural force. But when they get close enough, the rider's neck is eerily empty, no head to be found. The headless rider is said to seek vengeance on those who dare drive too fast or too recklessly, as he once did. Many have reported reported seeing him in their rear-view mirrors, gaining speed until he's almost upon them, only for him to vanish just before impact. But some unlucky few have been followed, and on rare occasions they've felt the chilling brush of a headless figure passing by, a warning to never forget the deadly cost of speed. So, if you find yourself alone on a lonely, dark road in Japan, and you hear the roar of a motorcycle behind you, be wary. The headless rider may be catching up to you, ready to claim another victim for his endless ride through the night. In the magical world of the Wizard of Oz, there is a dark and twisted legend that has haunted the film for decades. It's a tale of a shadowed figure seen briefly in the background that has sent chills down the spines of those who claim to have seen it. This is the story of the Hanging Munchkin, a haunting image that some believe shows an actor who tragically took his own life during the filming of the movie. The scene in question occurs as Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion make their way through the yellow brick road, and in the background, just for a fleeting moment, a shadowy figure appears hanging from a rope in the distance. The figure appears to be a small, humanoid shape, one of the Munchkins, but instead of standing or moving, it sways ominously, as though suspended in mid-air. The unsettling image has long been thought to show a Munchkin actor who, in a moment of despair, ended his life while filming. Rumours spread quickly after the film's release. Some claimed it was a tragic accident. Others swore that the figure was the result of a hidden, dark history surrounding the Munchkin actors. Over the years, the Hanging Munchkin became an urban legend, whispered about by fans of the film, who believed that the ghost of the actor still lingered, forever trapped in the frames of the movie. However, Snopes.com debunked the legend, tracing the figure to a much more mundane origin. Instead of a suicide, the mysterious shape was likely one of several large birds that had been allowed to roam the set. The bird's wings, spread wide in the background, created the illusion of a hanging figure, a trick of the light and angle that fueled the myth. Despite the truth, the legend persists. Some still claim that when watching the film late at night, they catch a glimpse of the Hanging Munchkin, the shadow of a tragedy that never truly happened, but has haunted the film's legacy all the same. In the shadowed halls of Japan's schools, a chilling legend whispers through the corridors, one that students speak hushed tones and avoid at all costs. It is the tale of Hanako-san, the ghost of a young girl who haunts the bathrooms, her presence bound to the third stall on the third floor, and if you dare to summon her, you might never leave the bathroom alive. Hanako-san, a vengeful spirit, or perhaps a restless yokai, is said to have met a tragic death long ago. Some say she drowned in the school's toilet. Others whisper that she was the victim of a gruesome murder, her young life stolen away in the most violent of ways. But whatever the truth, she now haunts the restroom, waiting for those foolish enough to disturb her peace. To summon Hanako-san, you must enter a girl's bathroom, most commonly the one on the third floor of the school, and stand before the third stall. There, in the cold silence, you must knock 3 times on the door. With each knock, the air thickens, growing heavier, colder, as though something or someone is listening. After the final knock, you must ask, "Is Hanako-san there?" If she responds, her voice soft and haunting, a chill will crawl up your spine, and the door will slowly creak open. But beware, what you might see is not a friendly face. Hanako-san is often described as a small girl with short black hair, wearing an old-fashioned school uniform, her face obscured by shadow. Her eyes, if you catch a glimpse of them, are dark voids that seem to draw you in, pulling you closer to an inevitable doom. Some say she will drag you into the toilet, others that she will simply vanish, leaving only a sense of dread and the stench of death in the air. But no matter what you see, one thing is certain: those who seek her out rarely return unchanged. They are marked by an unsettling presence, a shadow that follows them, and a fear of bathrooms that never truly fades. So, remember this. If you ever hear a knock from the third stall, or feel a cold hand on your shoulder when you least expect it, you'll know Hanako-san is there, waiting, watching, always watching. Tonight we explore the unsettling legend of Jarrell Bettis, also known as the Dog Boy, from Quitman, Arkansas. Relax and let this eerie tale of mystery and folklore guide you gently to sleep. The legend of Jarrell Bettis, often referred to as the Dog Boy, is an eerie urban tale that has circulated for years in Quitman, Arkansas. According to the legend, Bettis was a deeply troubled young boy with a dark and sinister streak. Locals recall strange behaviour from his early years, including capturing stray dogs and cats and allegedly torturing them, which earned him the ominous nickname Dog Boy. As he grew older, the stories surrounding Bettis became even more disturbing. It's said that he eventually turned his violent tendencies toward his own family, reportedly terrorising his parents. He was rumoured to have kept his elderly parents essentially imprisoned in their home, where neighbours would occasionally hear strange noises or catch glimpses of unusual activity. Some claim that Bettis grew into an unnaturally large man, his physical size adding to the fear he instilled in those around him. The house where Bettis lived, located at 65 Mulberry Street, became infamous in the community. People began to believe that the home was haunted, not just by Bettis's malevolent presence, but by by the spirits of the animals he had tortured over the years. After his parents passed away under mysterious circumstances, rumours swirled that their deaths were linked to his abusive behaviour. Though much of the story is based on hearsay and local gossip, the legend of Gerald Bettis persists in Quitman. The abandoned home became a focal point for ghost hunters and thrill seekers who claim that paranormal activity still occurs there. Whether fact or fiction, the tale of the dog boy remains a haunting part of the town's folklore, a chilling reminder of the blurred line between reality and myth. In the late 1970s, a quiet council house at 284 Green Street in Enfield, London, became the centre of one of England's most chilling supernatural tales, the Enfield Poltergeist. Between 1977 and 1979, the Hodgson family, especially two young sisters, Janet and Margaret, found themselves at the mercy of a malevolent force lurking within their home. What began as strange noises soon spiralled into a full-blown haunting that would terrify all who witnessed it. The haunting started subtly, objects shifting, knocking sounds echoing through the night. But as days passed, the activity grew more violent. Furniture slid across rooms by unseen hands, toys flew through the air, and chilling voices filled the house. At the heart of it all was Janet, just 11 years old, who appeared to be the poltergeist's primary target. She would often fall into violent trances, speaking in a guttural voice that was far from her own, claiming to be an old man who had died in the house. Witnesses, including police officers and paranormal investigators, were horrified as they saw objects move and heard disembodied voices with their own eyes and ears. One officer reported seeing a heavy chair slide across the floor, while investigators observed Janet levitating and being thrown from her bed as if lifted by invisible hands. The poltergeist's presence was relentless, bringing a sense of dread and terror to everyone involved. Attempts to communicate with the spirit revealed its bitter rage and violent intent. It would mock the family, taunt the investigators, and even threaten anyone who dared to interfere. Those who entered the house often felt an overwhelming coldness, a suffocating presence pressing down on them. The Enfield poltergeist remains a mystery, dividing skeptics and believers alike. Some claim it was a hoax, a trick played by young girls seeking attention, but others insist the terror was real, that the house on Green Street was truly haunted by a force beyond this world. Even today, the Enfield poltergeist stands as one of the most disturbing cases of supernatural activity, a dark chapter in London's history that lingers in the shadows, a warning that some spirits do not rest easily. Tonight, we'll explore the chilling legend of the Beast of Bladenborough, a mysterious creature that once terrorised a small town. Settle in, relax, and let this eerie tale guide you to sleep. The Beast of Bladenborough, also known as the Vampire Beast or Vampire Cat, is an urban legend that originated in Bladenborough, North Carolina, during the winter of 1953 to 54. This eerie tale centres around a series of mysterious animal deaths that left the small town in fear. Over the course of several weeks, numerous pets and livestock were found dead, their bodies reportedly drained of blood, with locals attributing the attacks to an unknown predator. Witnesses described the beast as a large cat-like creature with dark fur, sharp claws, and glowing eyes. Some said it resembled a panther or cougar, while others believed it was something more sinister. The way the animals were killed, found with deep bite marks and their blood allegedly drained, led many to speculate that the creature was vampiric in nature, earning it the nickname Vampire Beast. As the attacks continued, fear spread through the town, and locals organised hunting parties in an attempt to track down the creature. Despite numerous efforts and a rising sense of panic, the beast was never captured or conclusively identified. Some hunters claimed to have spotted the creature, but it always seemed to vanish before anyone could get a clear shot. Over time, the sightings diminished, and the strange animal deaths eventually stopped. Though no solid evidence of the beast's existence was ever found, the legend persisted, with some believing the creature still roams the woods surrounding Glastonbury. The mystery of what truly caused the deaths remains unsolved, leaving the beast of Glastonbury to live on as one of North Carolina's most chilling urban legends. Welcome to the chilling tale of Mercy Brown, an urban legend from the quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island. Relax, close your eyes, and let this mysterious story take you back in time. In the small, quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island, during the late 19th century, the Brown family was plagued by tragedy. Tuberculosis, a deadly disease with no known cure at the time, had already claimed the lives of several members of the family. The illness was known as consumption, due to how it appeared to waste away its victims. George Brown, the patriarch, watched helplessly as one by one his loved ones fell ill and died. His wife, Mary Eliza, was the first to succumb, followed by his eldest daughter, Mary Olive, both taken within a few short years of each other. Despite these losses, George hoped the worst had passed. However, his youngest daughter, Mercy Brown, soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Mercy was a bright young woman, but tuberculosis did not spare her, and she died in January 1892 at the age of 19. Her death left the Brown family devastated, but the horror was not yet over. Just weeks after Mercy's passing, her brother, Edwin, who had been ill for some time, took a turn for the worse. Fearing for his life, desperate measures were taken, leading to the birth of an enduring legend. At the time, tuberculosis was not well understood, and in many rural communities, fear and superstition spread almost as quickly as the disease itself. In Exeter, some townsfolk began to whisper about the possibility of something more sinister. Could the dead be rising from their graves to drain the life from the living. This idea, while unthinkable to modern sensibilities, was deeply rooted in folklore at the time. In New England, there was a long-standing belief in vampires. Though these vampires were not the glamorous creatures of Gothic fiction, but rather the restless dead rising from their graves to consume the life force of their living relatives. George Brown, despite being a practical man, was persuaded by his neighbours to exhume the bodies of his deceased family members, hoping to find the cause of Edwin's worsening condition. In March of 1892, with the ground still frozen, a small group of men gathered in the graveyard where the Browns were buried. They first dug up the remains of George's wife and eldest daughter, but both had decomposed as expected. Then they turned to Mercy. Unlike the others, Mercy's body was found to be in a strangely preserved state, even though she had been buried for over 2 months. Her skin still appeared relatively intact, and there were even rumours that her body had shifted in the grave, as though she had been moving after death. The most alarming discovery, however, was the presence of fresh blood in her heart and veins. In the eerie world of haunted relics, few objects instill as much dread as the Dybbuk box, a small, unassuming wine cabinet steeped in sinister legend. Originating from Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is a restless, malicious spirit believed to cling to objects or people, feeding off their misery and fear. The Dybbuk box is said to contain just such a spirit, bound within its wooden walls, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to open it. The box first gained infamy when it surfaced in an online auction, accompanied by the chilling story of its previous owner, who claimed his life was plagued with misfortunes and nightmarish experiences after acquiring it. According to the tale, the box was originally bought by a young man at an estate sale. When he opened it, he found strange items inside: locks of hair, a small goblet, a candlestick, and engraved Hebrew inscriptions. But it wasn't the items inside that terrified him. It was what followed. From the moment the box entered his home, strange occurrences began. Foul odours of decaying flowers and ammonia filled the air. Shadowy figures appeared in his periphery, and the eerie sound of faint whispers echoed through the night. Soon he began having violent, unexplainable nightmares of an old, hateful woman lurking at the edge of his bed, her eyes burning with malice. Each morning he woke up feeling drained, as if the spirit had sapped his very life force. The Dybbuk box changed hands many times, with each new owner reporting the same ominous symptoms: unrelenting nightmares, accidents, and a pervasive, sickening dread. One owner even suffered a sudden stroke shortly after acquiring it, convinced that the spirit trapped within the box had cursed him. Eventually, the Dybbuk box was sealed away, kept hidden from curious eyes, locked behind glass to prevent anyone from releasing the evil within. It has since become a relic of fear, a cursed object housed with great caution. Paranormal researchers who dare to approach it claim to feel an intense pressure, as if the air around it is vibrating with a dark, pulsating energy, ready to burst forth at the slightest touch. Today, the Dybbuk box stands as a chilling reminder of forces beyond our understanding. Many believe that the box should remain sealed, for to open it is to invite disaster. The warnings are clear. Disturb the Dybbuk box, and you may awaken something ancient, vengeful, and impossible to escape. A spirit that seeks not just to haunt, but to possess and torment anyone who crosses its path. we journey to Iowa City, where the eerie legend of the Black Angel awaits. Let the mysterious tale of this cursed statue guide you into a peaceful and restful sleep. Black Annis, also known as Black Agnes or Black Anna, is a chilling figure in English folklore, described as a terrifying hag with a blue face, sharp iron claws, and a fierce hunger for human flesh. She lurks in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. According to the legend, Black Annis once lived in a cave in the Tane Hills near Leicester, which she is said to have carved out herself using only her iron claws. The entrance of her cave was surrounded by a large oak tree, from which she would emerge to hunt her prey. Her most infamous targets were children and young animals. The legend says that Black Annis would creep into the nearby villages under the cover of nightfall, dragging children back to her cave to devour them. She would skin her victims and hang their hides on the branches of her oak tree, using them to make clothing for herself during the harsh winters. Parents in the area used the tale of Black Annis as a way to scare their children into behaving or staying indoors after dark. The mere mention of her name would be enough to keep children obedient and fearful of wandering too far from home. Some versions of the legend claim that Black Annis could stretch her long arms through windows to snatch disobedient children from their beds if they didn't close their shutters at night. Despite her terrifying reputation, Black Annis also played a role in explaining natural phenomena. Her dark cave, according to local law, was believed to be an old burial site or a den she carved in the hillside. Some believed that her presence symbolised the harshness of nature, particularly the long, unforgiving winters that plagued the countryside. Over time, the tale of Black Annis grew in popularity and spread beyond the villages, becoming part of Leicester's folklore. Some say her spirit still haunts the area, while others believe she was merely a cautionary figure created to instill fear in children and protect them from the dangers of the wilderness. Today, Black Annis remains a symbol of fear and darkness in English folklore. Her legacy lives on as one of the most terrifying urban legends, reminding people of the thin line between the safety of home and the lurking dangers of the outside world. In the quiet, mist-covered village of Woolpit, Suffolk, there is a tale so strange, so unsettling, that it has echoed through the centuries, whispered in hushed tones by those who dare remember. The story is that of the Green Children, 2 children with skin the colour of freshly sprouted leaves, who appeared mysteriously in the village during the 12th century, their origins shrouded in darkness. The legend begins one fateful day when the villagers discovered 2 children, brother and sister, standing near one of the village's wolf pits, a deep, dark hole from which the village took its name. The children were unlike any the villagers had seen before. Their skin was a sickly green, their eyes wide with fear, and their clothes were strange, made of a fabric that none could recognise. They spoke in a language no one understood, their words a guttural foreign sound that only deepened the mystery. The villagers, both curious and fearful, took the children in, feeding them the only food they knew, bread and beans, but the children refused, their faces contorting with disgust at the food. It was only when the villagers offered them raw beans that the children ate, their hunger insatiable. Days turned to weeks, and memories fragmented, she revealed a story so unbelievable that it has haunted Woolpit ever since. The children, she said, came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a realm that existed beyond the earthly world, a land where everything was green and the sun never shone. She spoke of strange beings who lived there, beings that looked like people but were not quite human. She told of a world where the sky was always twilight, and where she and her brother had wandered before they mysteriously found themselves in the pit. No one knows for certain what happened to the green children. The girl, now assimilated into the village, grew up and eventually married, but the strange origin of the children was never fully explained. Some say they came from a parallel dimension, while others whisper of an underground kingdom, or perhaps they were lost souls, cast adrift from some other, darker world. To this day, the tale of the green children of Woolpit lingers like a shadow over the village. The villagers of Woolpit still speak in hushed tones of the strange visitors, of the green-skinned children who arrived one day, never to reveal the truth of where they came from, and perhaps, more chillingly, where they went. In the shadowed annals of maritime lore lies the chilling tale of the floating coffin of Charles Coglan, a legend as haunting as the sea that carried it. Charles Coglan, a celebrated actor born on Prince Edward Island, Canada, met his end far from home on November the 27th, 1899, in Galveston, Texas. His body was interred in a stately vault in Lakeview Cemetery, where it was thought to rest in peace. But the sea had other plans. The following year, in September 1900, the infamous Galveston hurricane struck with apocalyptic fury. Winds howled like banshees, and the surging waves claimed thousands of lives, including the dead already buried in the earth. Among the storm's grisly victims was Coglan's coffin, torn from its resting place and cast into the raging Gulf waters. For years nothing was heard of the coffin's fate until a tale began to emerge. One whispered with disbelief and dread. According to legend, the coffin, guided by some unseen hand, or perhaps by Coglan's unfulfilled yearning for home, drifted through the Gulf of Mexico, up the Atlantic coast, and across the icy waters, eventually washing ashore on the rugged shores of Prince Edward Island. There, it was said, his remains were laid to rest at last in the land of his birth, completing a ghostly journey of thousands of miles. Though modern accounts debunk the fantastical end of the legend, claiming his coffin was discovered in 1907, partially submerged in a marsh just 9 miles from Galveston, the eerie myth endures. Ripley's Believe It or Not immortalised the story in 1929, solidifying its place in folklore. Even now, the tale of Charles Coglan's floating coffin remains a ghostly reminder of nature's wrath and the strange forces that seem to guide the dead. Whispers linger of his spirit still haunting the restless seas, a man forever tethered to the tides that carried him home. Let's journey into the haunting forests of Veracruz, where ancient whispers tell of mysterious creatures called the Chenecas. Close your eyes, relax, and let their eerie legend guide you to sleep. In the dense, untamed forests of Veracruz, whispers of an ancient terror linger, the Chenecs. Born from the depths of Aztec mythology, these eerie creatures are believed no taller than a child, but their appearance is deceptive. They take on the guise of tiny men and women, their forms twisted and contorted, with eyes that glimmer like blackened coals. Their laughter, an eerie, high-pitched sound, echoes through the trees, growing louder the deeper you wander into the forest. Travellers who hear this sound know they've strayed too far into Shanek territory, and once the creatures have set their sights on you, escape is nearly impossible. The air grows thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and rotting leaves, and suddenly you'll realise that the path you were following has vanished. The trees around you seem to close in, and the familiar sounds of the forest, birdsong, the rustling of leaves, fall deathly silent. It is then that the Shaneks strike. With swift, silent movements, they dart between the trees, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Their soft whispers crawl inside your head, filling your mind with confusion and dread. Legends say that the Shanek possess a terrifying power. They can steal a person's tonali, the very essence of one's soul. Once taken, the victim is left wandering in a daze, trapped in a state of confusion and fear. Days turn to weeks, and the unfortunate traveller begins to wither, their mind unravelling until they are but a hollow shell of their former self. To those who manage to escape the forest, the ordeal never truly ends. They say that the Shanekes curse their victims with endless nightmares and strange illnesses, their whispers haunting them long after they've left the woods behind. The only way to break free is to return to the forest and appease the Shaneks with offerings of food or valuables. A dangerous proposition, for those who return rarely make it out alive. In the dark, shadowy depths of the forest, the Shaneks wait, ever watchful. For once you enter their domain, you belong to them, and they will not let you go. Relax and unwind as we delve into the eerie tale of the Buckley family, an urban legend shrouded in mystery. Let the chilling story guide you gently into a deep, peaceful sleep. The Buckley family urban legend revolves around a chilling photograph of two children who reportedly murdered their mother on Halloween night. The story begins with the discovery of an old, grainy, black and white photo found in an abandoned house, showing a young boy and girl standing side by side. At first glance, the picture seems innocent, but upon closer inspection, there's something unnerving about the children's blank expressions. The story behind the photo is far more sinister. According to legend, the Buckley family lived in a quiet neighbourhood in the 1950s. On Halloween, the two Buckley children, who were around 10 and 12 years old, brutally murdered their mother in cold blood. They supposedly planned the murder for weeks, waiting for the perfect night when no one would suspect their horrific intentions. Some versions of the tale say the children wore Halloween costumes to hide their identities, making it harder for the neighbours to realise the terrible act they had committed. After killing their mother, the children left her body in the house and calmly walked outside as if nothing had happened. When the authorities arrived, the children were found sitting on the porch, eerily silent, still wearing their costumes, their hands stained with blood. The photograph that surfaced after the incident is said to have been taken moments before or after the murder, capturing the children in their eerie calmness. Some believe the image was discovered by the police as part of their investigation, while others say it was found years later in the abandoned Buckley house, where the children had been left to live after the tragedy. The whereabouts of the children after the murder remain unknown, adding to the mystery and fear surrounding the story. Over time, the Buckley family stays at it too long, or too often experiences terrible nightmares, or even worse, finds themselves drawn into the same darkness that consumed the Buckley children. The Buckley family tale continues to be passed down as a reminder of the horrors that can lurk behind seemingly innocent faces, forever leaving a haunting impression on those who hear it. In the forgotten corners of Kansas, hidden deep in the eerie silence of Stoll Cemetery, lies a dark secret, one that should never be sought but forever lingers. The legend speaks of an ancient, crumbling church that once stood here, now reduced to rubble, its remnants buried beneath the weight of time and neglect. But beneath the wreckage, something far more sinister still endures. A set of stairs that lead into the earth, hidden from view, yet said to open into the very depths of hell. Every year, on Halloween night and the spring equinox, the veil between this world and the next grows thin, and the gates of hell are said to crack open. It is on these cursed nights that the stairs, once part of the old church, are said to reveal their true purpose, serving as a direct passage to the other side. Those who venture too close report an unnatural cold, a weight in the air that presses down on their chest, and an oppressive silence that seems to swallow all sound. The stories are chilling. Some claim to have seen shadows move at the edge of their vision, whispers from unseen voices calling them forward, urging them to descend. But none are foolish enough to go further. Many who have dared to approach speak of the heavy, suffocating presence that lingers near the steps, a force that watches from the dark. And though the church is long gone, the legend persists. For in the dead of night, when the moon is hidden and the air turns thick with dread, the stairs to hell are said to open, waiting for those who are brave or cursed enough to glimpse what lies beyond. But be warned, once you look into that darkness, it might never let you go. On the eerie evening of September the 20th, 1965, in the quiet seaside town of Felixstowe, England, a terrifying event unfolded, one that would become known as the legend of the Felixstowe fire demon. Witnesses claimed to have seen something unnatural that night, an encounter so horrifying that it would haunt the town's memory for years to come. It began with strange lights in the sky. Around midnight, residents reported seeing glowing red and orange orbs floating above the coastline, moving with unnatural speed and precision. These lights were unlike any aircraft known at the time, pulsing with a fiery intensity that seemed almost alive. But it wasn't the lights that struck fear into the hearts of Felixstowe's residents. It was what came next. A young couple, drawn by the unusual lights, ventured closer to the shore. As they approached, a figure emerged from the darkness, illuminated by the fiery glow. They described it as a tall, humanoid being, yet something was horribly wrong. creature's body seemed to shimmer with a heat wave-like distortion, as though it was surrounded by invisible flames. Its eyes were fiery embers, burning with a malevolent red glow that seemed to pierce straight into their souls. The couple stood frozen as the entity approached, its movements slow and deliberate, almost predatory. A faint crackling sound, like the hiss of burning coals, filled the air, and the air around them grew stiflingly hot. The creature stretched out a long, claw-like hand, and in that moment the couple fled, overwhelmed by an overwhelming sense of dread. They ran through the darkened streets, their minds reeling from what they'd just encountered. Other townspeople reported feeling an inexplicable heat that night, even inside their homes, as if the fire demon had cast a spell of warmth across the entire town. Some claimed that the creature had left scorched footprints along the beach, deep impressions jarred into the sand that no waves could wash away. But by morning, there was no trace of the creature, only the lingering terror of its fiery gaze and the charred marks left in its wake. Local authorities dismissed the event, attributing the lights to atmospheric phenomena and the creature to the overactive imaginations of frightened witnesses. But those who saw the Felixstowe fire demon knew the truth. A being from another world, forged in fire, had stepped into their world, leaving a scar in Felixstowe's memory that would never fade. Today, the legend of the Felixstowe fire demon endures, a chilling reminder that some mysteries defy explanation. On stormy nights, when the sea crashes against the shore, residents sometimes claim to see a fiery glow flickering in the distance, as if the fire demon still haunts the coast, waiting to emerge from the shadows once again. Tonight, we explore the mysterious legend of Black Aggie, a haunting statue once feared for its supernatural powers. Relax, settle in, and let this eerie tale gently guide you to sleep. Black Aggie is an eerie urban legend centered around a mysterious statue that once stood at the grave of General Felix Agnes in Druid Ridge Cemetery, Pikesville, Maryland. The statue, a somber figure draped in a cloak, resembled the well-known sculpture Grief by Augustus St. Gaudens. However, over time, Black Aggie became infamous for the supernatural tales that surrounded it. According to local law, strange and unsettling events began to occur after the statue was placed in the cemetery. People claimed that Aggie's eyes would glow red at night, and that anyone who looked into them would be struck blind or cursed. Another part of the legend states that if someone sat on Aggie's lap at midnight, they would either die within a year or be haunted by the statue. It was also rumoured that the shadow of Black Aggie would cause nearby grass to wither and die. Due to the growing number of ghostly tales and instances of vandalism, Black Aggie became a focal point for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many visited the statue, either to test the legend or to experience the supernatural aura that surrounded it. The stories grew, further embedding Black Aggie into Maryland's folklore. Eventually, the statue was removed from the cemetery in 1967 to put an end to the disturbances it caused. Though the statue itself is gone, the legend of Black Aggie continues to captivate in imaginations, with people still sharing stories of the haunted statue and the eerie events that took place in Druid Ridge Cemetery. chaos of war, amidst the smoke and screams of battle, some stories emerge from the darkness, tales of spirits that refuse to be silenced, legends that are born from blood and fire. The Ghost of Kiev is one such tale, a chilling legend from the heart of Ukraine, a story whispered in hushed tones by soldiers and civilians alike. It begins with the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, a brutal and unprovoked assault that shattered the peace and ignited a deadly conflict. As Kiev, the capital city, came under siege, the Ukrainian forces fought desperately to defend their homeland. In the sky above, a lone fighter jet appeared, a phantom of war. This mysterious pilot, whose identity was never fully known, became the stuff of legend. The Ghost of Kiev was born. The first reports came from soldiers, terrified and astonished, who claimed to have seen a single Ukrainian fighter jet soaring above the city, cutting through the darkened skies with unearthly precision. This pilot, swift, deadly, and seemingly invincible, would appear out of nowhere, striking fear into the hearts of Russian invaders. It was said that no one could match the skill of the Ghost of Kiev, as the mysterious aviator downed enemy aircraft one after another, defying all logic, all expectation. Some believed the ghost was a ghost indeed, a spirit of vengeance haunting the sky, refusing to let Kiev fall. As the story spread, so did the rumours. Some whispered that the Ghost of Kiev was not just a man, but a soul driven by fury and hatred, seeking retribution for the lives lost in the war. Others spoke of the ghost as a force beyond the realm of the living, an unearthly presence summoned by the cries of the innocent. There were accounts of a shadowy figure in the cockpit, eyes gleaming with an intensity that sent shivers down the spine of those who saw it, a presence that seemed almost otherworldly. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the Ghost of Kiev vanished. No one saw the fighter jet again, and the battlefield was left in silence. Some say the pilot died in the air, their soul never truly leaving the skies. Others claim the ghost still watches over Kiev, waiting, forever bound to the city's defence. But one thing is certain, the Ghost of Kiev remains a haunting symbol of defiance in the face of darkness, a spectral guardian who will never be forgotten. The legend lives on, a story that lingers in the air like the distant roar of engines, a reminder that in the darkest hours